Alright, hey everybody. So, I'm going to start doing a lot more of these Facebook Lives. Wanting to get a little bit more information out there, get a lot more information out there than a lot of the generic crap that's out there. Going to trying to do them, looking at doing them every Tuesday, Thursday, generally around this time, around sort of lunchtime, midday. I will change up the times a little bit depending on when and where people can get to them. So today we're going to talk about nutrition. Nutrition is something that there's a lot of bad information out there. There's a lot of misinformation out there. But nutrition is the biggest key to most people's fitness goals, whatever they are, weight loss, strength building, muscle building, doesn't matter what it is. It is the key to most of them. The thing with nutrition is as I said, there is a lot of misinformation out there, and the key to any fitness goal or any strength goal or weight loss goal, it doesn't matter what it is, the key is education. The key is not just following a generic plan and following a black and white plan, not knowing how it works. The key is knowing why it works, how it works, and why you're doing it. If you know those principles and you know the basics behind it, you know what you've got to do, not just to achieve the goal, but to maintain it long term. So as I said, nutrition, the main things in nutrition is there's a lot of buzzwords that are thrown around: macros, micros, counting calories. There's a lot of buzzwords that are thrown around that confuse people. Nutrition does not have to be as bad or as technical or as hard as people tend to think it has to be. It's a lot simpler than a lot of people and a lot of programs, a lot of the information make it out to be. It is quite a simple thing to do. Your main things you're looking at is your macros and your macros and your micros. So your macronutrients and your micronutrients. Your macronutrients are the main building blocks of your food. So your carbs, fats, proteins. Your micronutrients are all the tiny little things, your vitamins, minerals, amino acids, all that sort of stuff that are in the background. Generally, unless you have some sort of a deficit or health concern or health issue, generally your micronutrients will just take care of themselves. Quite often you'll get a lot of the supplements and stuff that have it in it, your daily multivitamins and that sort of stuff. Generally, you don't need them unless there is an outstanding issue. That's a whole other issue. People overuse supplements and cause all sorts of problems. That's a whole other topic. We'll keep that for another day. But what we're going to talk about today is mostly the macros. So your macronutrients, as I said, they're the main building blocks, your carbs, fats, proteins. What they are generally used for is pretty much all the basic requirements your body needs day to day. So your carbs are carbohydrates. Your body will convert them into glucose or sugars. So if you look at the nutrition data on the back of any of your food, it'll have your carbohydrates and it'll have sugars underneath it. The reason it does that is your body converts them into sugars and uses those sugars as a base energy source. That's where you get most of your energy from. Your fats are generally used to store the energy that your carbohydrates will create. We also use the fats in our bodies to insulate, to protect your organs. If you ever look at any sort of medical show or hey, Lee, how you going? Any of the if you look at any of the medical shows, or if you've seen a butcher or anything like that, there is a fat layer around your organs. So when we consume fats, our bodies should put them to good use and use them to protect our organs. Our proteins are probably the most critical out of all the macronutrients. Proteins are used as the building block of all your cells. They're used for cell function, they're used for cell structure, they're used for regeneration. So that goes for everything in your body. Your whole body is created of cells. Your proteins are used to regenerate them. Doesn't matter if it's organs, doesn't matter if it's your muscle tissues, your fibers, it doesn't matter what it is, your proteins are the main building blocks of all those sort of things. We also use our proteins to regulate and create hormone production, and also to assist with immune function. So they're very, very important to get a lot of proteins in your diet, and to make sure you're getting a balanced amount of proteins and a good, clean source of proteins. Plenty of different places you can get them from, but we'll go into that in a little bit. In terms of what to do depending on what your goals are, it's all about tweaking the three macros, your carbs, fats, and proteins, depending on what your main goals are. So we all hear the buzzwords of, if you want to lose weight, cut your carbs. A lot of people will take that to the extreme. You get people on what's called a ketogenic diet, where they will cut out carbs pretty much completely. They have very, very minimal carbs. There is a lot of issues around that, and it's not the least of which is actually maintaining it. Cutting out carbs completely and maintaining it for long term is a very hard thing to do. It's not very practical, and it's really not easy, especially when you've got family, when you've got work schedules and busy life to actually stick to. Cutting out carbs completely, it is doable, and there is a lot of people out there doing it. It works for them, awesome. but it is a very hard and very impractical way of maintaining your health. Decreasing the carbs, not cutting them out completely, decreasing them, using them at targeted times is a much easier way of doing it and a much easier way of maintaining it and achieving goals and keeping them long term. So when we're looking at weight loss, we want to decrease the carbs, we want to increase our proteins, and we want to moderate our energy levels with fats. One of the big things people will struggle with when they're losing weight is cutting the carbs down and losing a lot of energy. Carbs are very calorie dense, so there is a lot of energy in carbs. Because we break them down to sugars, they're basically essentially made of sugars. So when we break them down, we get a big energy source, which is why you see kids at parties have the Red cordial, they go off their nuts because they're getting this massive sugar high out of the cordial. When we decrease our carbs, we can compensate for that by increasing our fat content slightly. Doesn't have to be bad fats. It can be as simple as putting a teaspoon of coconut oil in your protein shake. It can be as simple as eating a little bit more fat-rich protein, steak and stuff like that have got a little bit more fat content in it. What that's going to do is your fats are also used as a bit of a carrier for your they're used for a carrier of your protein. Getting the extra protein is going to give you a big energy boost. So you can actually moderate your energy levels. If you find you're getting a little bit low in energy when you're on a lower carb nutrition plan, increase your fats a little bit. It's going to compensate for that for you. Strength building. We want to have moderate carbs. We don't want to have a huge intake of carbs, but we want to increase a little bit. When you're doing strength building, you are going to be causing a lot of damage to your muscles. You're going to be, your body's going to be going through a big recovery process, so it is going to need a slightly larger energy source. We're going to increase our carbs a little bit to compensate for that. Proteins we're definitely going to have to increase. Again, we're causing damage to the muscles and the fibers and the cells in the body, so we're going to need those proteins to rebuild the cells. And then we're going to lower the fats a little bit. We don't need, because we are having that slightly higher carb content, we can lower our fats a little bit and get away with not requiring as many of them. When we're going to hypertrophy training, so big muscle building, bulking, that type of stuff, we're going to be causing a lot of damage to our muscles, so we really need to jack up the protein intake to help with that recovery. We can also get away with eating a lot more carbs than we normally would. Generally, we have it pre and post training, so we have a serving or a half serving before training, have it after training as an immediate energy source for the body, but then you can also get away with having a solid 1 to 2 serves of carbs a day outside of that as well. Massive amount of protein, as I said, we're causing a lot of damage to the muscle fibers, so we want to really jack up the protein content that we're having, because we're going to need that recovery, we're going to need that rebuilding of the muscle cells and the fibers to really get the development, the muscle building we want. And then again, the fats, we are having the larger amount of carbs, so we can drop the fats a little bit, but you will want a slightly higher amount of fats in your diet. For most people, weight loss is where we're looking at. That's 90% of the people I talk to, 90% of the students I've worked with, weight loss is their main initial goal when they first start on any sort of fitness journey, whether it's in the gym or home or whatever it happens to be. So what we're looking at is decreasing those carbs. Now, a lot of the people freak out thinking they're going to have to do plain, boring, feral meals that take forever to cook and taste like crap. It's really not a requirement. You can get away if you know how to cook and you know the basics. This is again where it comes back to having the knowledge of what you're doing. If you know the basics of what to cook and how to cook it, you can get away with creating some beautiful meals, some really simple, easy to cook meals. Most of the stuff I cook and most of the recipes I have in my programs and available on my website and when I put it up on social media and stuff, general rule of thumb, 15 minutes prep time. If it takes me any longer than 15 minutes to cook it, I do not have time to cook it. I do not have time to get it ready. 15 minutes, it's in the oven, it's on the stove, whatever it happens to be, and it's ready to go. In terms of counting calories and stuff, it's the other thing that a lot of people freak out about. If you're eating a balanced nutrition, you're eating a nutritional diet that is on target for what you want to achieve in terms of your fitness goals, you shouldn't have to count calories. Counting calories and tracking your food are two very different things. Counting calories is when you're going down to the nth degree, measuring every little bit you're eating, taking count of every calorie you're eating. It makes meals a chore and it makes them hard and it makes it a lot longer to do anything and to measure anything. Having a general idea of what you're eating is going to mean you're going to be able to replicate it later on, but it also means you can make adjustments along the way. When I have a set goal that I'm working towards, it's generally either old school. I used to use Notepad. These days I use things like MyFitnessPal. I have a rough guesstimate of what the calories are, but generally I'm not even looking at the calories in MyFitnessPal. MyFitnessPal will break it down into calories and macros and micronutrients and all the garbage that's there, but all I want is just what I'm eating. So it could be something as simple as breakfast oats, lunch turkey sandwich, snack in between, handful of nuts. Like, it's not, I don't really care how much of it I'm having, because I know if I'm eating the right foods, how much of it's really not going to make a difference. When we look at our macros, your body will hold on to the carbs. As I said, carbs are designed as an energy source. Your body will hold on to carbs because it needs that energy source for, you've got to think back primeval kind of thinking. Your body has its natural instincts that it reverts back to. It always needs an energy source hanging around, so you will hold on to carbs to have available in case of you go through times of lack of food or whatever. You need to have an energy source there to go. Fats it won't hold on to as much. It generally uses them and wastes them. Proteins it doesn't hold on to at all. It either uses them to regenerate the body or it washes them. So if you're eating a primarily protein-rich diet, you can eat as much as you want because your body won't hold on to that excessive protein. It'll get rid of it. If this is where tracking and just keeping an idea of what you're eating is I'm not going to say an essential requirement, but it is recommended to do. If you are at least tracking it so you can see, okay, look, yeah, I'm really having probably 3 serves of carbs a day. It doesn't matter how much you're having. If you're having 3 serves, it's generally going to be too much. Oh, look, I'm only having 1 serve. Cool, I should be getting what I need to. And you can make your adjustments just based off, I'm having it 3 times a day, I'm having it once a day, I'm having it once a week, whatever it happens to be. If you're eating the right amount of, or the right type of foods that you need, you shouldn't have to really count the calories. It's really just going to make life hard, and it's really going to make it hard to stick to long term. As I said, tracking it's going to let you make the adjustments as you go. Really, for nutritional adjustments, you're really looking a week at a bare minimum, 2 weeks really, to get an idea of routines and patterns. Where creatures of habit, and you'll find if you track what you're eating over 2 weeks, you'll find you'll have a habit of quite often it'll be lunchtime or mid-morning snacks, or the bad food for lunch, or we've got soccer training on Wednesday night and I'm always eating bad then. You'll find habits very quickly in 2 weeks. 1 week generally is not enough unless you're going on some really strict detox diet, which I've done before, and you can see massive changes within a week and see what's working and what's not. But generally 2 weeks is the guide. If you change anything, try and stick to it for 2 weeks and then see what happens after that 2 weeks and make your adjustments from that. I just thought of something else I was going to talk about. In terms of portion control, as I said, if you're watching what you're eating, you're getting the right rough portions of macros and servings of macros, you shouldn't have to worry about portion control. A lot of the big things, that's what I was going to talk about, not eating enough. A lot of the things that I find with people that come in and talk to me, one of the first things they do is they stop eating. That could be one of the worst things you can do. They come in and think they're doing the right thing, and that's fine. It's, as I said, a lot of it's that misinformation stuff. A lot of people will come in and they think they're doing the right thing by cutting down how much they eat. It's really, really not the right thing to be doing. Talking too much. When you cut down or drastically cut down the amount of macros you're having, your body goes in again. It goes back to survival instinct. It goes into essentially starvation mode. So if you're not getting the sufficient calories and you're going on an extreme calorie deficit, your body will actually hold on to a lot more nutrients and a lot more macros, so your carbs and your fats, than it really, really needs. It's one of the quickest ways of losing weight, or the quickest ways of speeding up your metabolism, is actually eating more, but not more as in massive meals 3 times a day, more as in smaller meals more often. You want to convince your body and convince your system that there is a constant supply of nutrients coming in, and if you do that, your metabolism is going to speed up to keep that to keep those nutrients burning off and keep that food burning off that you're putting into itself. It can be a matter of a couple of days. It can be about a week for most people to actually see that difference. I have personally, and I've had several students previously lose up to 4 kilos in a week, just because we've reverted back to very basic nutrition, high protein, low carb, medium fat, and had 5-6 small meals during the day. And by meal, it can just be something as simple as a snack, so boiled egg, handful of nuts, something like that. Basically just keeping a constant supply of macronutrients and a constant supply of calories going to your body, your metabolism will convert really, really quickly into what it needs to do. Your body's a very smart machine. It learns very quickly what it needs to do, and it adjusts very quickly. If you can convince it that there is a constant supply of nutrients coming in, you'll find your metabolism will crank up really, really quickly, and you'll actually start burning fat off a lot quicker, not just what you're putting in, but the excess that you've got as well. When you starve yourself and you go down to, I'm only eating 1 meal a day, or I'm only having, one decent meal a day, I'm having a salad for lunch or something. The thing with salads is there's no real calories in them. If you look at any green salad, essentially all the green stuff that's in it's basically made of water, nothing else. There's no calories, there's no macronutrients, there's no nutritional value to it at all. So you might as well not be having anything. You need to have something in that to give yourself some calories to convince your body there's food coming in. If you're doing that, you're essentially eating maybe 1.5 meals a day. Your body's going to go into starvation mode. It's going to hold on to more, and you're actually not going to lose weight. You'll actually retain water. You'll actually retain a lot more calories and a lot more fat in your system. Increase how much you're eating. Increase it not by having 3 massive meals, just space them out. If you're used to having your 3 meals a day, break them down, have smaller meals at the main ones, and have a slight snack in between. Something generally protein-based if you can. Otherwise, something that's got very low GI, so whole grain bread. Nuts and eggs are probably the easiest go-to thing because they're just so simple to have. Handful of almonds, you're done. That's more than enough to kind of keep it through. Even if you've got to space out a little bit more, if you do really long hours like I do from goodness knows when in the morning to midnight, space out your snacks in between. So I'll quite often have breakfast, I'll have 2 snacks in between, I'll have lunch, I'll have 2 snacks in between, and I'll have dinner. And I'll quite often have something after that as well. As I said, I've done that before, and I'm actually going to be doing it again reasonably soon. That I can lose up to 4 kilos in a week just from just no extra exercise. I actually did no exercise at all during that week, literally just adjusted my nutrition. High protein. I was probably eating close to 3,000 calories a day. Most people freak out and think they've got to eat 1,000 calories or less a day. Worst thing in the world you can do. Increase the calories, have them consistent through the day, and you'll find a massive change really, really quickly. In terms of meal plans and stuff like that, base your meals around your protein. Cook your protein, whatever it happens to be. I've worked with vegetarians before that obviously no meat. I've worked with vegans before. Actually, I've got a girl at the moment that I'm working with that is 100% vegan. No meat, no animal products. Her protein comes from beans, legumes, tofu, things like that. She's getting insane results at the moment. You've probably seen a few posts I've done about her recently because she's having some massive wins at the moment. Lauren is absolutely smashing it. I think she's up to her last major weigh-in was about 2 weeks ago. She's down to about 15 kilos now. Lost about 15 kilos. First time she's been under 90 in over 3-4 years. Unbelievable. She's lost like 60 centimeters all up. Actually, she's lost more than that because I got her measurements the other day. She's lost more than 60 centimeters now. Completely massive transformation mentally and physically. She's absolutely smashing it. She's an amazing girl. But that's the thing. Like her results aren't unique. Her results are typical for what you can get if you get your nutrition right. She's up to training a bit, yes, because she wants to tone up as well. But 90% of that fat loss and that weight loss is coming from her nutrition, and it's small tweaks that we've made to her nutrition here and there just to get her body working the way it should be. That's the thing, that those sort of results are typical for what you should be getting if you're doing the right nutrition and you're doing the right thing. I'd love to get more of this out there. As I said, I'm going to be doing more of these Facebook Lives. I'm going to try and do them Tuesdays, Thursdays at this stage. I may change the Thursday one because I do my live webinar Thursday nights, which you guys can jump on as well. I'll put a link in the comments below once this posts up on Facebook. I'd love to get you guys on there as well. I run through a lot of stuff to do with a lot of the body hacks that I use, basically. There's 3 of the main ones that I run through to do with your food, but also to do with nutrition and time as well, because it's sort of the 2, nutrition, motivation and time. They're the 3 big issues that most people struggle with when they're trying to lose weight or get in shape. Finding the time, finding the motivation to keep at it, and nutrition, as I said, is the biggest thing for most people. If you get your nutrition right, you're going to smash your goals out. That's all there is to it. you're going to feel great. You're going to want to work out, and you're going to see the results. That's all there is to it. It's nutrition is the key. I'm going to do a lot more of these Facebook Lives. I love getting this information out there. This is probably the easiest way of doing it rather than pre-recording and posting it up. I much prefer doing it like this because if people have questions, I can answer them as we go. So keep an eye out for these guys. Tuesday and Thursday at this stage. If you've got any questions about this that I haven't covered, if there's any info in there I haven't covered, feel free to post below. Once this gets posted up on Facebook, or if you're not watching this live, post it up. I'll respond to them when I see them. Otherwise, guys, have a fantastic day. It's an absolute cracking day in here in Sydney at the moment. I'm going to go for a ride, get a bit of midday exercise in. I will talk to you guys soon. If you've got any questions, as I said, comment below. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.